The Lemon Tree Trust Garden is inspired by the gardens found in Domiz camp, which is a refugee camp in northern Iraq. And the atmosphere within the camp, it's very similar to the dry, hot Mediterranean. So it's dusty, it's arid, there's very limited water. And the garden is really inspired by the ingenuity and the determination and the resilience of these people in situations of forced migration and displacement to create gardens, to beautify their limited personal space, and to create these retreats within this very harsh camp environment. When I was there, I talked to lots of people and kind of was trying to understand why they might create gardens. So people say that they create gardens. It's often one of the first things that they do when they arrive. So they brought seeds from Syria or seeds from home or certain vegetables or crops. And these plants, once they grow and once they kind of establish, they start to remind people of home. So I spent a few days with a botanist called Sammy, who initially he'd been advising on the types of plants that people grow within the camp and helped me kind of come to a final planting scheme. And then I spent a couple of days with him in the camp looking at things like the types of trees people grow, the types of crops people grow. And he actually took us out into the surrounding hills and we did a kind of plant survey. The camp is in this amazing location called the Mesopotamian Plain, and it's an area of real biodiversity. So we found lots of different things. We found native salvia species, native irises, and lots of interesting native flora, which was really unexpected in this what looks like desert environment. Another thing that was really, really nice and really moving was every single home you stop at, every garden you look at, the owners invite you in and they want to talk to you, they want to discuss with you about the kind of plants that they're growing or where these plants are from. So it's really interesting speaking to people and finding out that maybe they've brought seeds or plants from Syria, the kind of materials that they have available, and the way people recraft or reimagine these very kind of mundane raw materials and turn them into attractive aesthetic objects. So people polish concrete or they create structures for growing plants on from steel or timber. So in the Chelsea garden we're using concrete, timber and steel, three materials that are widely available in the camp. And we've elevated these materials to a kind of a higher level than just their raw forms by polishing them, casting them, crafting them into interesting or Islamic inspired shapes and designs. Alongside the hard materials, we've used lots of plants that are widely grown in the camp. So the trees, we have lemon trees, a pomegranate tree, a fig tree. All of these trees are very important to Syrian people. And also taking influence from Islamic design as well. So elements like the fountain or the screens, it will create really nice shadows. I hope that if a Syrian person visited the garden, they would have a real reference back to the gardens of Syria and back to gardens that might remind them of home. I met engineers, I met botanists, I met farmers, I met builders, painters and decorators, all sorts of people just thrown together, and it's how you survive and how you build yourself back up in that situation. So it was really important for me to go to Domiz camp as a designer to see that firsthand, to be able to then talk with integrity and talk with honesty about the experience I had and about what people are doing in Iraq and in Domiz camp and in refugee camps across Kurdistan. The Chelsea Flower Show has a global reach of around 2 billion. The fact that we can bring the stories from Domiz camp to such a wide audience is a really, really powerful and important thing to do. These people are living through really, really tough, hard times, but they're still showing a sense of determination, of resilience, of ingenuity, and they're creating gardens. And I hope our garden at the Chelsea Flower Show has some kind of power to relate those gardens in Domiz to gardens and gardening everywhere in the world. And it's something that I think, really does transcend cultures and transcend societies. Everyone can relate to how important gardens are.